All right, let's go into oil prices and how they're affecting travelers' wallets. All right, let's go into this. So we have these two points, and they kind of may coexist a little bit, may weave in and out of them a little bit. But here we go. So for just a little quick stat, oil prices just went over $115 a barrel. That's higher than it was during COVID. So this is huge because it affects gas prices, it affects airline ticket travel, it affects some things, right? So we're going to kind of go into here. So if I'm owning an Airbnb, I own a short-term rental, should I be kind of worried if I have a drive-to destination? I mean, even drive-to destinations or fly-to destinations, do you think both of these are going to be like really impacted by this? Or do you think like, this is a good time for people to honestly get away from this kind of crazy time?
So, well, one, oil prices affect travel, and we'll break down where I think they affect some good, some bad.
Okay.
And so, we've seen a spike with the Iran war that saying, hey, listen, oil prices above 150 or hit 115 a barrel. I don't know exactly where they're at today, but I think I think they're over $100 a barrel for sure, and going up since the Iran war started. If this is a prolonged war, this could be, if it prolongs, let's first say like most recessions are preceded by oil prices spiking. Now, usually, like this is the oil prices are spiking because of the war, right? And instantly went up, right? Like almost overnight. And so we're feeling it at the pump, and we haven't felt it long term yet at the pump. And so the longer it goes, the more it affects a lot of these things we're going to talk about. Short term are, when we're driving, and we always love drive-to destinations. We think that they're the most recession proof. We think we are insulated from the ups and downs in the markets way more than markets like the markets like, let's say, Hawaii or the Caribbean, the islands, right? You're not driving to any of those markets. You have to fly, right? Airlines, air travel, the airline's biggest expense, up to like 20% of their operating expenses, is gas prices. So when gas prices significantly spike, well, guess what? That gets passed down to ticket prices. Ticket prices go up. And so if it costs me, if I'm flying over somewhere for $1,000 and now all of a sudden it goes to $1,500 and I got a family of 5, that's a big increase in my cost to travel to one of those destinations that I'm flying to. So fly to destinations are affected the most when oil prices spike. Drive-to destinations, on the other hand, are not as affected, because let's assume you're a 4 to 6 hour drive away. Most of your cars, let's say it cost you, it's $100 in gas to get there, and then all of a sudden they spike and it goes up to $150 of gas. In gas. So your cost of travel went up by $50. In the airline example, let's say that same ratio took your $1,000 ticket to up $500 across however many people you're traveling with. And so that it's the drive to destinations, oil prices affect them it's almost negligible. We don't notice it as much as a consumer. So we don't like it. I don't like spending that much more, 50% more to fill up my tank of gas. But at the end of the day, if you really break it down, it doesn't stop me from going. But if I have an increase in my trip of $3,000 or $2,500 or whatever it is, that 500 times however many people are in your family, a couple $1,000 might say, I don't know, that's just on getting there, right? And so drive-to destinations, which again, we see the most insulation against these types of things happening on drive-to destinations. Fly-to destinations, different story. Right now, this is a fairly short, like this. They spiked, and we'll see how long it lasts. The longer it lasts, the more effect it's going to have on international travel, fly-to destinations. Of saying, hey, listen, if I'm in an area where the majority of people have to get on a plane to get here, that could be a tough one. That can be a tough one. The longer it lasts. And so short term, you will start to have consumers not affected as much on the drive to destinations. They'll start to think about the fly to destinations, but short term, a lot of those travelers right now are already booking trips, right? And so they've already paid for their trips.
Interesting.
And so they're still going, right? Medium term, people are going to start to choose domestic travel over some of the domestic drive-to travel over fly-to destinations. And then long-term, it could have a much greater effect on the economy as a whole, recessionary times, some of those things.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, quick article here. We have the Independent. They just released this today. Cost of flight surges up to 7 times higher as oil crisis hits airlines. So, I mean, that's a giant number. Now, I saw this other article.
See that? So that makes no sense. So
Talk to me.
Here's where I don't like. I get prices of travel are going to go up, right? But how do you surge 7 times when your largest expense is fuel, but it's only accounts for about 20% of your operating expenses? Like that. I mean,
they're probably just passing it on, man.
But passing on and taking advantage. You jump 7 times. Like, maybe I don't understand the economics, but in my head, if you're like, go look up. Why don't you look up what's the
all right.
What is the let's see, airline is their largest expense is what percentage of operating cost is fuel for an airline?
I love it. I love it when we break stuff down like this. This is fantastic. What percentage of operating cost is, do you say, is oil?
Is fuel.
Is fuel for an airline. Huh. Let's check this out. 20 to 30%.
20-30%. Okay, so yeah.
Wow. Oh, now I'm interested.
Yeah, so look, so it could rise to 40% in high oil times. But you're taking it from 20 to 30% to 40%. We're not 7xing our oil cost, right?
Yeah.
And so we're jumping it, but anyways, that's just we didn't read the article. We just read headlines. Which you shouldn't just read headlines, right?
It just sounded really good. Yeah. Okay, now here's another point I was curious about. I saw this other thing when it says right here. Now, of course, this could just be another headline here, so I want to break this down. When gas prices rise, short-term rental hosts should expect even shorter, more spontaneous, and closer to home stays, kind of like we said with the drive-to destination. Should these people with maybe like a cabin, tree house, these kinds of things, should they expect, people maybe just shortening their length, or do you think that's kind of just another like headline that people?
Yeah, I don't see, like, drive-to destinations are, again, not going to be. When you really think about your cost of fuel to a drive-to destination, you're adding a couple $100 maybe to your cost of the entire trip.
Right.
So I don't see consumer behavior being swayed one way or the other on that as much.
Okay.
Right. You're going to feel the effects of the high oil prices if you're a commuter or you're every day you're having to fill up your car. So certain people like we live in Utah, things are spread out. We spend more probably on gas than somebody that lives in an urban area, right?
Okay.
Because we're driving around a little bit more, and so we're going to feel the effects of that. But if I'm going up to Yellowstone for the weekend, I'm still going. If I was planning on going to Yellowstone, I'm still going to Yellowstone. It's going to cost me an extra $100 to get up and back, maybe $50 each way, but it's not an extra couple grand like the airlines are going up. So that's why I don't think those and we've seen it. Look at oil prices during COVID were over $100 a barrel.
Right. Yeah.
And so and where flourished like crazy. One, there was travel restrictions on airlines, and so you had travel restrictions with the airlines, coupled with really high cost to fly places, and so drive-to destinations just absolutely exploded through COVID.
Yeah. Very interesting.
We've already seen now. When you go into these wars and you go into these different things that are happening, the American consumer is really resilient. It's almost like we wake up every day and there's something else we're dealing with, right? And so it's like, it's really sad to say that we're kind of hardened to the fact that the ups and downs of everything that's going on, we just are going to live our lives. At the end of the day, you pretty much have to go out there and live your life. And we've seen that, especially from the American consumer, not making massive, life changes overall. We're still pretty much doing what we're doing. And part of that, I think, is just because, we're like living in chaos.
Yeah,
like we're used to it, right? And we're bombarded with it. Now, I do long term. And we'll have to see. The jury's out how long this thing's going to last. It was supposed to be short-lived. I hope it is. And, I hope we get things squared away to where we get back in just back to normal. If this is a long, drawn-out war, I think the conversation is a little bit different. Yeah. I think that you're starting to talk about recession and things like that. That those things usually are, precede a recession if oil prices surge like that and different things are causing the economy to kind of to falter a little bit.
Interesting. All right, what about this now? Let's go into maybe someone's listening to this and they go, man, the average family, this is a little bit more cost for them. Should I bump my prices down a little bit just to help them, eat some of that cost and maybe help me kind of stand out a little bit, showing a discount maybe?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that we always talk about, right? If you feel like you have to do that, then you didn't do the other things correctly on the front end. In the absence of value that you're providing, you have to talk about cost, right? And so the consumers always has this cost versus value, conversation in their head going. And so if I'm not articulating more value than my competitors, then I better start thinking about lowering prices. If I'm not, but consumers, if you show them the value you have, you show them and articulate that you have something different, something unique, something personal to them, then they're willing to pay you more. And again, I don't think that we just haven't seen consumer behavior change a lot during these times outside of, maybe some fly to destinations, international travel, some of those things I think suppress a little bit. But, domestic drive to destinations seem to fare very well during these times.
Yeah.